Updated September 24, 2018. Here's main, Part 1a, Part 1b, Part 2, Part 3. No man in this country is so high that he is above the law. No officer of the law may set that law at defiance with impunity. All the officers of the government, from the highest to the lowest, are creatures of the law and are bound to obey it. It is the only supreme power in our system of government, and every man who by accepting office participates in its functions is only the more strongly bound to submit to that supremacy and to observe the limitations which it imposes upon the exercise of the authority which it gives. United States v. Lee 106 U.S. 196, 1882. Why a rooster? He uses his golden call to wake people from their slumber. Wake up! Check out Predestination, 2014, here. Chicken, egg. Rooster. Scene from film, Predestination, 2014. Transcendence, 2014, is a 2014 American science fiction thriller film directed by cinematographer Wally Pfister in his directorial debut, and written by Jack Paglen. The film stars Johnny Depp. Pfister's usual collaborator, Christopher Nolan, served as executive producer on the project. Read more. Depp named his daughter, Lily. How is Lily Beetle related to rooster? It's here, Frankish language. Congressional male is aka franked male. Legend had it that one early 19th century senator even attached a frank to his horse's bridle and sent the animal back to Pittsburgh. Critics accused incumbents of flooding the mails with government documents, speeches, and packages of seeds. Read here. Demon and Puppet, The Others, 2001, which stars Nicole Kidman. In a decision that later was nullified by the 13th and 14th Amendments, the Supreme Court held that former slaves did not have standing in federal courts because they lacked U.S. citizenship, even after they were freed. Dred Scott, a slave born in Virginia, was purchased by John Emerson in Missouri in 1820. Read more. In 1818, the territory of Missouri, which was part of the Louisiana Purchase, applied for admission to the Union. Slavery was legal in the territory of Missouri, and about 10,000 slaves lived there. Read here. The denial of the right to live is based on the conclusion that there is such a thing as a life devoid of value. The Dred Scott Case of the 20th Century, 1973, by Charles E. Rice here. In considering the various acts which relate to slaves as property, it may be of use to premise some few observations, on the nature, properties, qualities, and incidents, appertaining to the objects of real and personal estates, respectively, and as distinguishing the one from the other. Read here, also, here, 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 here. Also, Marbury v. Madison explained, video, the Dred Scott decision explained by Hip Hughes, video. Also, Dred Scott v. Sandford, video. Check out lots more fun and informative videos courtesy of Mr. Beat. This article tries to link the development of American political science with a major concern of the discipline, democracy. The rise and fall of American political science, here. Read here. After the United States purchased the Louisiana Territory in 1803, the new territorial government of Missouri immediately instituted black codes, based largely on the code in place in Virginia, and similar in some ways to the French Code Noir. The American law made no distinction between slaves and other personal property in the territory. Human rights as property rights here. If a man is a human being, and a human being is property, is a man property? Is a born alive infant dead? Person, human being, child, and individual as including born alive infant. 1 U.S. Code Sect 8. Individual includeth the estate of an incompetent individual or a deceased individual. Find it here, Oregon Legal Glossary. The camera then turns to a group of people who are sitting around a table, including the old lady, now acting as the speaker of the séance. She is asking the children why they are lingering around in death. Ghostly Anne and Ghostly Nicholas scream that they aren't dead, while Ghostly Grace is, shaking the table, trying to get the speaker's attention. The Others, 2001. Speaking of Nicole Kidman, theirs is the largest private, non-monarchical, non-state land holding on Earth. Who owns the world? Arrival, 2016, 1 U.S. Code Sect 8 Human being. An ode to banks. Floating rocks. Your land, up in the air, literally. The creatures, dubbed heptapods because of their 7 appendages, appear one day in gray, oblong ships that look like massive pebbles, hovering improbably above a field in Montana and elsewhere around the world, 12 ships in all, the apostles to a Messiah who may never arrive. Vanity Fair. Also, here, The New Yorker. In common law systems, land tenure is the legal regime in which land is owned by an individual, who is said to hold the land. Read here, here, here. PR 00-025 Purchase of property by representative payees on behalf of minor children here. At common law, dower was closely guarded as a means by which the widow and orphan of a deceased landowner could keep their real property. The Law of Real Property in Illinois, PDF. History of the Illinois Attorney General, here. States may add to fundamental rights but can never diminish or infringe upon fundamental rights by legislative processes. Fundamental rights. The power under the Constitution will always be in the people. George Washington. It is intrusted for certain defined purposes, and for a certain limited period, to representatives of their own choosing, and, whenever it is executed contrary to their interest, or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. Letter to Bushrod Washington, November 10, 1787. Progress generally begins in skepticism about accepted truths. Intellectual freedom means the right to re-examine much that has been long taken for granted. A free man must be a reasoning man, and he must dare to doubt what a legislative or electoral majority may most passionately assert. Our Constitution relies on our electorate's complete ideological freedom to nourish independent and responsible intelligence and preserve our democracy from that submissiveness, timidity, and herd-mindedness of the masses which would foster a tyranny of mediocrity. The priceless heritage of our society is the unrestricted constitutional right of each member to think as he will. Thought control is a copyright of totalitarianism, and we have no claim to it. It is not the function of our government to keep the citizen from falling into error, it is the function of the citizen to keep the government from falling into error. The idea that a constitution should protect individual nonconformity is essentially American, and is the last thing in the world that communists will tolerate. American Communications Association v. Doubts, 339 U.S. 382, 1950, does the government have the right to surveil the land of your soul, your DNA/bio property without a warrant when you are being born in a public place/location such as a publicly funded hospital? Also, might this information that is likely to be obtained be also highly relevant to an ongoing investigation? As in, for your entire life? Read the latest Ross Ulbricht's petition. Canada's Applied Arts FX Studio created the scale models/miniatures for A24's film, Hereditary, 2018. Shall we elect the dead? Check out this album from Serge Tankian. Also, the official state office known as Person Here. Here's a pretty cool film. Hereditary opens with a miniature house. Canada's Applied Arts FX Studio provided the scale models made by Toni Collette's character Annie. Read more, Business Insider. When Ellen, the matriarch of the Graham family, passes away, her daughter's family begins to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry. Hereditary, 2018. As we zoom into the house, and the camera gets closer, we realize it's Peter's room. His mother, Annie, is a tool for the demon, Paimon. Unconsciously, she makes all the arrangements in order for the demon to be reborn in her son, including digging up her mother's grave. Read here. Do you have your Evil Grandma's Wall Calendar? A24. Evil Grandma's Wall Calendar, available from A24 Films. Check out videos by On Point Preparedness, his channel. The first thing we see is the title card letting us know about the passing of the grandmother, Ellen. It also introduces us to her daughter, Annie, and her granddaughter, Charlie. The three generations of women are the basis for the movie's title, Hereditary, or, something determined by genetic factors and therefore capable of being passed down from parents to their offspring or descendants. We see, the treehouse. Little do we know it's actually a chapel of demonic worship. Watch 60 Things You Missed in Hereditary, 2018, video. Also, video. Number 1 question to ask a policy enforcer aka cop: who are you? Freedom School. Do we find the cost of freedom buried in the ground? Mother Earth will swallow you, lay your body down, CSNY. A wrongdoer, who seeks to substitute the state in his place, or to justify by the authority of the state, or to defend on the ground that the state has adopted his act and exonerated him, cannot rest on the bare assertion of his defense, but is bound to establish it. Poindexter v. Greenough, 114 U.S. 270, 287, 5s.ct 903, 912, 1885. Wearing hats? Vague? Overbroad? What is a born-alive certificate person? Oh, and there we were all in one place, a generation lost in space. So come on, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. 'Cause fire is the devil's only friend, Don McLean. In each capacity, the defendants had fiduciary duties. Wearing more than one hat here, at least 3 requires a fiduciary to be very nimble as well as most prudent. While the fiduciary may purport to wear one hat at a particular moment, in truth, all hats are worn together at all times. Read here, Johnson v. Witkowski, 573 N.E.2d 513, 1991, here. Contractual claims in international law, here. No angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell. The individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business, or to open his doors to an investigation, so far as it may tend to criminate him. He owes no such duty to the state, since he receives nothing therefrom beyond the protection of his life and property. His rights are such as existed by the law of the land long antecedent to the organization of the state, and can only be taken from him by due process of law, and in accordance with the Constitution. Among his rights are a refusal to incriminate himself and the immunity of himself and his property from arrest or seizure except under a warrant of the law. He owes nothing to the public so long as he does not trespass upon their rights. The Law of Real Property in Illinois by Whitehead 1922. Upon the other hand, the corporation is a creature of the state. It is presumed to be incorporated for the benefit of the public. It receives certain special privileges and franchises, and holds them subject to the laws of the state and the limitations of its charter. Its powers are limited by law. It can make no contract not authorized by its charter. Hale v. Henkel, 1906. Dower in this state is a common law, and not a statutory right. Several statutes have been enacted which recognize, but do not confer or create it, and in our state it is extended by the General Assembly to at least two classes of cases, in which, by the common law, it could not be claimed, to wit, in making the widow of an alien dowable of the lands of which her husband died seized, and in submitting the husband's equitable estate to dower. The Law of Real Property in Illinois by Whitehead, 1922. Individual means a citizen of the United States or an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence. 48 CFR 24.101. The words people of the United States and citizens are synonymous terms, and mean the same thing. They both describe the political body who, according to our republican institutions, form the sovereignty and who hold the power and conduct the government through their representatives. They are what we familiarly call the sovereign people, and every citizen is one of this people, and a constituent member of this sovereignty. The question before us is whether the class of persons described in the plea in abatement compose a portion of this people, and are constituent members of this sovereignty. We think they are not, and that they are not included, and were not intended to be included, under the word citizens in the Constitution, and can therefore claim none of the rights and privileges which that instrument provides for and secures to citizens of the United States. Scott v. Sandford here. Does Thomas Jefferson's meme, all men are created equal, refer to the fact that all living people of all races are all created after our own kind, meaning, after the nation of living people, which are created from the union of living sperm and livingage? Does anyone doubt Dred Scott was a living man, not a fiction? A slave born in Virginia, was purchased by John Emerson in Missouri in 1820. Emerson then traveled with Scott to Fort Armstrong, Illinois, and from there to Fort Snelling, Wisconsin. Both Illinois and Wisconsin prohibited slavery. Scott and his wife stayed in Wisconsin when Emerson returned to Missouri. Since Emerson leased their services to other white people in Wisconsin, he violated the Missouri Compromise as well as other laws against slavery in that region. Dred Scott v. Sandford, 1856. Can a blankety blank whose ancestors were imported into this country, and sold as slaves, become a member of the political community formed and brought into existence by the Constitution of the United States, and as such become entitled to all the rights and privileges and immunities, guaranteed by that instrument to the citizen? To what extent does it matter that Dred Scott was a Negro? Was the color of his skin the critical element in the case? Read more, Justice Taney's Supreme Court opinion, excerpt. Have you seen this? The Terminal, 2004. Dark matter? Dark city? The police power is the dark continent of our jurisprudence. Read here, here. The form of the government of the United States, John W. Burgess, there would be little point in asserting an individual right if that right were completely subordinate to the police power of the state. Comparing the regulation of property in Canada, the US, and Australia, here. It has the effect of constricting the scope of fundamental rights by rendering as constitutional outcasts certain purportedly immoral or noxious activities. It does this by blocking these activities from falling within the purview of the protection of fundamental rights. Police powers and the Constitution of India, here. An illusory right, revisiting Illinois' right to keep and bear arms by Sam Sudima. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride, Don McLean. What is the police power? Read here. The police power, public policy and constitutional rights. Ernest Freund, 1904. Check out the historical power of the police power here, the proper scope of the police power here, the police power, patriarchy and the foundations of American government, here. The Jesters, I'm my own grandpa. If you are contacted about debts owed by a deceased person, refer them to the person named executor or personal representative of the decedent's estate. Read here. Because of the fiduciary duty required, it is better to decline to serve than to start administering the estate and find out you are over your head or that you made mistakes. As the executor, personal representative, or administrator of an estate, you are responsible to comply with all applicable laws and regulations. If you violate the law, you may be held liable for criminal or civil violations. Read more, Pennyborn. Most judicial decisions that don't apply legislative acts statutes, will involve one of three areas of law: property, contract, or tort. Property law deals with the rights and duties of those who can legally own land, real property, how that ownership can be legally confirmed and protected, how property can be bought and sold, what the rights of tenants are, and what are the various kinds of estates in land, example fee simple, life estate, future interest, easements, or rights of way. Read duty of care, law and legal systems. It becomes clear from the very beginning, everything was part of a process that was years, or potentially even decades, in the making. Peter and Charlie's grandmother always intended to use her descendants as a vehicle to bring her coven of witches preferred demon into human flesh. Read here, also Ari Aster. What is the externalization of the hierarchy? Read here. A Fabian socialist is a different bird. It may take him, years, over a period of time, to undermine, until they bring about the desired result. That's what's been going on in this country. Pastor Charles Lawson. Lucifer infects the movers and shakers, video. The Luciferian doctrine is explored in all its most glorious wonder and mystery in Alex Garland's Annihilation, 2018, right down to the phosphorus grenades. Lucifers could ignite explosively, sometimes throwing sparks a considerable distance. Lucifers were manufactured in the United States by Ezekiel Byam, read here. Statutes for statues. The demigod-like pose of Washington is portrayed in Dan Brown's best-selling novel The Lost Symbol, 2009, in which the author describes a hypothesis according to which Washington and the other founding fathers decorated the national capital full of Freemason and other occult symbols. Horatio Greenough-based enthroned Washington and Phidias' great statue of Zeus Olympios, which was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and which was destroyed in late antiquity. The seated and sandal-wearing Washington gazes sternly ahead. He is bare-chested. His right arm and hand gesture with upraised index finger toward heaven. Read more. Controversial statues of George Washington and Baphomet compared. The Satanic Temple temporarily placed a bronze statue of a goat-headed, winged creature called Baphomet at the Arkansas State Capitol during a rally to call for the removal of a Ten Commandments monument already mounted on Capitol grounds. Baphomet, a winged creature with a pentagrammed goat's head and man's torso, serves as a go-to signifier for the Satanic Temple. The statue was trucked into Little Rock for a First Amendment rally the temple held recently as a protest against the Ten Commandments monument that currently sits on the Capitol grounds. Read here. A similar-looking statue of George Washington also appears near the beginning of the 2013 first-person shooter, BioShock Infinite, One Nation Over God here, set in an alternate 1912 where Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson are worshipped by the inhabitants of the floating city of Columbia. And as the flames climbed high into the night to light the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight. Don McLean, American Pie. Read here. When the jester sang for the king and queen in a coat he borrowed from James Dean and a voice that came from you and me. Also, many, many years ago, when I was 23, I was married to a widow, pretty as could be. I'm my own grandpa, originally performed by the Jesters. The group got its name from Danny Kaye's film, The Court Jester, 1955. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Star Wars, opening crawl. Excerpt album cover Don McLean's American Pie. Life imitates art. The Zodiac Killer fatally stabbed or shot to death 5 people in Northern California in 1968 and 1969, and their killer sent taunting letters and cryptograms to the police and newspapers. Zodiac Killer. 24 solar terms of the trad. Chinese calendar here. Imagining the body corporate, here. In public international law, both a human and a ship are considered objects of the law. Read here. Read territorial discrimination, equal protection, and self-determination, here. More than a century and a half ago G.S. Faber remarked that the god Saturn is literally represented as sailing over the ocean in a ship, the Ship of Heaven by David Talbot, here. What is public international law? What is private international law? In this film, the demon who inhabits the flesh is only one of 72 demons. Besides the fact that most regular churchgoers only really know about one devil, the possibilities for spin-off are frightening beyond computation. Den of Geek. This is a spirit or demon that appears in a number of medieval grimoires, aka spellbooks, including the Lesser Key of Solomon, Pseudemonarchia Daemonum, Book of the Office of Spirits and Dictionnaire Infernal. Paimon symbols. If you were a freaky wannabe necromancer in the 1600s, these books would have definitely been on your pull list. Also, the 9th spirit in this order is Paimon, a great king, and very obedient unto Lucifer. He appeareth in the form of a man sitting upon a dromedary with a crown most glorious upon his head. Lifehacker Australia. Also, here. The name of the Holy One consists of 72 letters. Read here, here. The rule of 72 uses the natural log, sometimes called the inverse of E. The refame translates as the dead ones, and it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the corn, and reapeth the ears with his arm, and it shall be as he that gathereth ears in the valley of refame. Isaiah 17:5. Jeremy Caston has a new film planned called The Dead Ones, 2018. More about refame from Dr. Michael Heiser, also, read here. Jewish virtual library. Connections are relations by blood or marriage, relations of a person with whom one is connected by marriage. In this sense, the relations of a wife are connections of her husband. The term is vague and indefinite. Connections, Black's Law 2nd, here. The void for vagueness doctrine in the Supreme Court here. Here. How does the doctrine apply to immigration laws? Rabbi plus T equals rabbit aka Coney. The First Amendment protects 5 basic rights: the rights to freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, both to have a religious preference and to be free from government mandates that one practice or avoid practicing a certain religion, the freedom to assemble peaceably, and the freedom to petition the government for redress of grievances. When a law is unconstitutionally overbroad, it often is because that law prohibits some behavior that is otherwise protected by the First Amendment. Also, in order to avoid breaking an overbroad law, then, many people will voluntarily choose not to engage in behavior protected by the First Amendment or another basic right, just to be sure they're not accidentally breaking the overbroad law. Since these laws either infringe on basic rights or encourage people to avoid exercising basic rights, most courts recognize that anyone who is affected by an overbroad law has standing to challenge the law's overbreadth on B1/2 of all persons affected by that law. Read more here. Uniform Determination of Death Act here. When does a fetus become a person? Read here. Person means an individual, corporation, business trust, estate, trust, partnership, limited liability company, association, joint venture, government, governmental subdivision, agency or instrumentality, public corporation, or any other legal or commercial entity. Read here. What is dead hand? Formed from the classic legal Latin manus, also present in mancipatio, mondo, meaning power, authority over one's wife, children, and slaves, and the power and capacity to buy and sell slaves or estates. What is mort main? Parta sequitur venturum. The offspring follow the condition of the mother. This is the law in the case of slaves and animals, but with regard to freemen, children follow the condition of the father. Heredem Deus facit, non homo. God and not man, make the heir. Read here. Also, here. Selected Maxims of Law for Father's Rights, PDF. I will go into a hare with sorrow and sighing and mickle care, and I will go in the devil's name, Shadow of the Hare, Maddie Pryor, video. And the Holy Ghost descended in a bodily shape like a dove upon him, Luke 3:22. The idea behind remission is not only forgiveness, but liberty and deliverance. Read here. Jesus, the carpenter, master of the dovetail joint. He's not a liar and deceiver like that other guy. What's his name? Man of sin? Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? Isaiah 14:15-17. Fixing a hole in the ocean, trying to make a dovetail joint, yet, looking through a glass onion. The Beatles. I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in and stops my mind from wandering where it will go. The Space Within Us, Paul McCartney, DVD, video. Do we live under a Truman Show-style dome? Some folks think so. What's behind the curve? Find out, here. Are you creative? Submit films, music, art/photos and screenplays. Colorado International Sci-Fi and Fantasy Film Festival #SISF 2018. Learn more. The current crew of the ISS with Dove, Drew Ferstel, Ricky Arnold, Serena Ayan, Alexander Gerst, Oleg Artemyev, and Sergei Prokopyev. Credit, NASA. Rights are, however, liable to another subdivision, being either, first, those which concern and are annexed to the persons of men, and are then called jura personarum, or the rights of persons, or they are, secondly, such as a man may acquire over external objects, or things unconnected with his person, which are styled jura rerum, or the rights of things. Commentaries on the Laws of England in 4 books Volume 1, here. Successor of a beneficiary means a person who succeeds to substantially all of the rights of a beneficiary by operation of law, including a corporation with or into which the beneficiary has been merged or consolidated. UCC Sect 5-102 Def. Confessing to the endless sin, the endless whining sounds. You'll be praying till next Thursday to all the gods that you can count. My God, Jethro Tull, video. The Black Queen chants the funeral march. The cracked brass bells will ring to summon back the fire witch to the court of the Crimson King. In the court of the Crimson King, here. Living people have no heirs, they only have prospective heirs. Yesterday, all my troubles were so far away. Now I need a place to hide away. The Beatles. Black Mirror episode, playtest, stars Wyatt Russell. After his father's death, Cooper Redfield travels abroad and ignores his mother's phone calls, as well as the reality waiting for him back home. After visiting many countries, he ends up in London where he meets games journalist Sonia through a Tinder-like app. After a hot one-night stand, Cooper's credit card gets cloned and he is left without money. Game skinny. Black Mirror's playtest aired October 23, 2016. Strapped for cash, he decides to playtest a top-secret augmented reality game from a world-famous developer. After signing his life away, an implant is inserted into his neck to track his brain frequencies and meddle with his eyesight, causing his fears to manifest while trapped inside a virtually haunted house. The episode stars Kurt and Goldie's talented and handsome son, Wyatt Russell. Paul McCartney: The Space Within Us. What is a present estate? Video. Researching Robert Lawler, author of one of my favorite books, Sacred Geometry, Philosophy and Practice, here, takes us to Lindisfarne Association, which takes us to Rockefeller Brothers Fund. Not surprising. In Matthew 25, Jesus explains, there are 10 virgins preparing to meet the bridegroom, but 5 don't have enough oil and cannot meet him. He goes on to explain, 3 servants choose to use wisely the money left from their lord, some have cared for the poor, some have not. I wonder what all of that means? Mathematician Kelsey Houston Edwards offers ambitious content for viewers that are eager to attain a greater understanding of the world around them. Math is pervasive, a robust yet precise language, and with each episode you'll begin to see the math that underpins everything in this puzzling, yet fascinating, universe. Read more, PBS. Defining infinity, watch here. Confusion, the combination or mixture of two things, the process of commingling, used synonymously with merger, meaning a union of two separate entities that eliminates clear boundaries. Confusion of rights, for example, is a combination of the rights of debtor and creditor in the same individual. Similarly, a confusion of titles exists when two titles to the same property combine in the same person. A confusion of debts is a method of eliminating a debt or cancelling it. This may occur, for example, upon the death of a creditor when the debtor is the creditor's heir. Read more. Confusion will be my epitaph, here. In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. When the qualities of obligee and obliger are united in the same person, the obligation is extinguished by confusion. Union of qualities of obligee and obliger, here. Also, extinguishment of obligation, here. Coronation, the act or occasion of crowning, also, accession to the highest office, condonation, implied pardon of an offense by treating the offender as if it had not been committed. The implied forgiveness of an offense by ignoring it. Read here. Condonation, or remission of debt, Article 1270. Obligations and contracts, here. Apollo and Daphne. The pre-Christian Greeks associated their god Apollo with laurel. Daphne turned into a bay tree just as Apollo approached her. Anything could happen if you were a Greek god. Apollo embraced the tree, cut off a branch to wear as a wreath and declared the plant sacred. Their belief in the myth caused the Greeks to present laurel wreaths to winners, here. First a laurel wreath, later a circle of stars, they appear in Baroque art symbolizing immortality. Read more, heraldic crowns. Myrrha also fled from her father, and Aphrodite turned her into a myrrh tree. And, of course, myrrh was one of the gifts the Magi gave baby Jesus. So, Jack, being not so nimble as required, fell down and broke his crown. What is a naval crown? The first use of the name Union appears in 1625. There are various theories as how it became known as the Union Jack, but most of the evidence points to the name being derived from the use of the word Jack as a diminutive. Read here. The Colorado flag, its design and legacy, Patrick Wood. Madonna in Glory by Carlo Dalsi, courtesy Wikipedia. What, no driver on the top? Were you a wizard at 3? Twisted, 1959, video. A genius at 8? Gerald Bostock? Speaking of a plot twist, what is involuntary servitude? The Prison Industry Enhancement Certification Program, PIPE, is a federal program that was initiated along with the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, and the Prison Industries Act in 1979. What is penal labor? What are easements, profits, licenses, real covenants, and equitable servitudes? Check out this video. Baby Adonis was adorable beyond words, and since there was no one to look after him, Aphrodite took him under her wing. She sent the child to be looked after by Persephone, the queen of the dead in the underworld. Read here. He died in a field of lettuce. Aphrodite's lover Adonis was killed in a bed of lettuce by a boar sent variously by Artemis, who was envious of his hunting prowess, or by Persephone, who was envious of his affection for Aphrodite, or by Ares, who was jealous of Aphrodite. The black lettuce is sown in the month of January, the white in March, and the red in April. The history of lettuce. Shortly after midnight, when the ship was off Cape Hatteras, Wansley bludgeoned Captain William Thornby to death with a pump brake, while the other mutineers hunted down and beat the mate, Mr. Roberts. A tale of mutiny is part of its history. Dreamland was the name of Coney Island's grandest park. The smell of the salty sea air and hot dogs from the historic Nathan's Famous shop on the iconic Coney Island boardwalk permeated the shoreline. Read the tragic history of Coney Island, here. Luna Park is the heart of Coney Island, read here. If I can't make it, I'll send my rabbit. SNL January 21, 78 Coneheads Family Feud. Steve Martin's character remarks, "I'm the spokesman for the romaine lettuce growers Association of California." To which Bill Murray's character responds, "If I can't make it, I'll send my rabbit." Saturday Night Live, January 21, 78 Coneheads Family Feud. Life is change, how it differs from the rocks. You are the crown of creation, Jefferson Airplane. Here's an interesting presentation, The Problem with Protestants by Pastor Stephen Anderson, video. Pollution imagery is tempting to the rhetorician, and especially to those adopting the language of morality. Invoking pollution immediately clears away any nuanced shades of meaning and replaces them with a dichotomy of pure and impure. Exile in America, political expulsion and the limits of liberal government, here. Report of the Task Force on Extraterritorial Jurisdiction, here. Have you noticed, rabbits dig holes in the dirt to put their babies in them? Peter Gabriel sings about digging in the dirt. Also, Pink Floyd sings, "On the dark side of the moon, run, rabbit run. Dig that hole, forget the sun, and when at last the work is done don't sit down, it's time to dig another one." The very famous tattoo in The Matrix instructs us to follow the white rabbit. Donnie Darko features a creepy rabbit. Jimmy Stewart befriends an imaginary rabbit, Harvey. But this is a people robbed and spoiled, they are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses, Isa 42:22. Rabbits have always been associated with witchcraft. They are sacred to Hecate. Many cultures perceive the form of a rabbit in the full moon, and thus the rabbit is associated with lunar magic. So associated with the moon and old goddesses of Europe is the hare that it was once forbidden to eat its flesh in Britain and Ireland. In Kerry it is still said that to eat a hare is to eat one's grandmother. Read here, March Totems. Peter's father, Steve, with moon-like halo, played by Gabriel Byrne, Hereditary, 2018. Tricks are for kids. Tail equals tail aka booty. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden, and squeezed under the gate. First he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Speaking of creepy characters named Peter, some families in Perth, Australia fled the showings of Peter Rabbit they attended with their children recently when the theatre accidentally showed the trailer for Hereditary. Read here, here. The Origin of Sin and the Queen of Heaven, here. In the film, Peter is the moon-child son of the good-for-nothing, emasculated moon god, Steve. In this classic shot from the film, we see Steve, played by Gabriel Byrne, framed by the light from a round window in the church. Of course, the light only looks like the moon. Read here, Cryptic Rock. The origin of the 7-day week is sometimes attributed to dividing the 29 or 30 days of a lunation by 4, to get a number close to 7. Read here. New Year's Day was an important holiday when the sacred marriage rite was performed. The day began and ended at sunset and contained 12 hours. Read here. Is Martin the devil? It's lived spelled backwards. The killing of a sacred deer. The title refers to the Greek legend of King Agamemnon, who accidentally killed a sacred deer and was ordered to sacrifice his daughter as punishment. Oops. Maybe he had a few too many drinks at his pagan celebration. Read here. Our daughter started menstruating last week. Read The Killing of a Sacred Deer, 2017, script. Yorgos Lanthimos' film is a Hitchcockian drama, brimming with unsettling humor, creeping dread and all-out horror, here. The doctor's younger son is sacrificed to accomplish justice and settle an alleged debt. It's a twisted plot. Notice how, as a result of a curse, members of the family first become lame, unable to walk or stand. Bless its pointed little head by Jefferson Airplane. Also, unlike the Israelites, Egyptians believed in a second life after death. They believed that every person has, other than his physical body, a dual spiritual nature, which they called the Ka and the Ba. They also regarded the name and shadow of a person as living entities, part of the spiritual existence, not just linguistic and natural phenomena. Read here. Except as otherwise provided in this section, the authority conferred by this subtitle is in addition to any other authority conferred by law and is not subject to any inconsistent provision of law. Also note, in subsection A, the word paramount is omitted as included in not subject to any inconsistent provision. Title 40, Public Buildings, Property and Works, here. What is the great work of Freemasonry? Did you know, Jews are believed to have come from God and Gentiles are not considered so? Really? It's here. Is Kabbalah a psychopath factory? Truth spoon. Cain's children, here. Also here. Enmity between Jew and Gentile? Feuding? Feudalism? Like a family feud? For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall of partition between us. Ephesians 2. So, I guess not any more. Read here. A little sons of God and daughters of men concludes sacred deer, but I won't spoil that for you. Bless his pointed little head. Is Martin the devil? If not, then why does his promise come true on schedule, a hospital as a Kubrickian modern super hotel, a Hilton in Dubai? Lanthimos has an eye for the off-kilter, such as a long shot of Stephen washing his hands at the kitchen sink as a paralyzed Kim crawls toward him. Read here. Shemin the high ward fire stone, or white bread is shown being offered to the pharaohs, in the shape of a cone. The whole of religion is the catastrophical and calamitous magical kingdom of Satan. It's about conjuring spirits and animating statues for the purpose of redesigning the DNA of the dead. This is the craft. The crescent moon over the philosophical kings of antiquity. The most powerful of the mystery schools was known as the Royal School of the Master Craftsman at Karnak, founded by Pharaoh Thutmose III. This school was also known as the Great White Brotherhood due to the members' choice of raiment, white robes, and their dedication to producing the white powder known to the Mesopotamians as Shemin the high ward fire stone, or white bread to the Egyptians. The quadratic cover C squared, mystery of the iniquity. Was it an accident? Really? Hereditary, 2018, trailer played before Peter Rabbit. The story of Lilith originated in the ancient Near East, where a wilderness spirit known as the Dark Maid appears in the Sumerian myth The Descent of Inanna, circa 3000 BCE. Lilith, lady flying in darkness, more. Lilith is one of the oldest known female spirits of the world. Her roots come from the famous Epic of Gilgamesh, but she was also described in the Bible and the Talmud. Read more. Kindly is she as Bast, the cat goddess, terrible is she as Seekath. Read here. By day, the cat goddess would ride through the sky with her father in his boat. She is one of the few sun goddesses that is also classified as a moon goddess, with her glowing cat's eye reminding us of the moon that it reflects. Read here. Is it while a bodily son is still living that the office is to be awarded to a maternal uncle? Is it while Seth, his elder brother, is still living that the office is to be awarded to the mere lad? The contendings of Horus and Seth, here. Instead of being part of a meal, seeds from lettuce flowers were harvested and pressed for their natural oils which were used for cooking, medication, even mummification. When lettuce was a sacred sex symbol, here. The island of Horus with fractions. The secret teaching means that we are trying to hide something from you. The teaching of the secret means that we are trying to teach something to you, to open up and reveal something hidden. As the island of knowledge expands, so too its beach upon the infinite sea of the unknowable. What is Kabbalah? The soul of Judaism. Also, read here. The temples of the sun and moon, and the temple of Quetzalcoatl, are joined by the avenue of the dead here. I'm being followed by a moon shadow. The song opens the film, An American Werewolf in London, script by John Landis. I bent down and kissed the moon and star on his head. Cat Stevens. By the way, have you heard of the New Orleans tradition of hiding baby Jesus in the king cake? Check out this news item, brought to us by Lauren Thorne from Twilight Trivia, video, read more. The mystery masked man was smart, he got himself a Tonto cause Tonto did the dirty work for free, but Tonto he was smarter and one day said Kimosabe, kiss my ass, I bought a boat, I'm going out to sea. If I had a boat, Lyle love it. Speaking of the masked man, although the Lone Ranger's last name in the radio shows was given, his first name was never specified in any of the radio or television shows. Also, tonto means stupid or ignorant in Spanish. Read here. 28 Corpus Juris Secundum, the Law of Domicile, PDF. Here's information under the section Particular Persons. Everything you want to know about particular persons but are afraid to ask. Read John Taylor Gatto's Dumbing Us Down, the Hidden Curriculum of Compulsory Education, here. Rumor has it, anything you say, or fail to say, in a court of so-called law can and will be held against you. Private Joe Bowers, the definition of average American, is selected by the Pentagon to be the guinea pig for a top-secret hibernation program. Forgotten, he awakes 5 centuries in the future. He discovers a society so incredibly dumbed down that he's easily the most intelligent person alive. Check out this scene, one of my favorites, Not Sure from Mike Judge, his very funny satire, Idiocracy, 2006, video. Desertion of seamen, contracts. The abandonment, by a sailor, of a ship or vessel, in which he engaged to perform a voyage, before the expiration of his time, and without leave. Read here. While Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatter's sons of bankers, sons of lawyers turn around and say good morning to the night, for unless they see the sky but they can't, and that is why they know not if it's dark outside or light. Elton John. Insourcing, as prison labor is often called, is an even cheaper alternative to outsourcing. Instead of sending labor over to China or Bangladesh, manufacturers have chosen to forcibly employ the 2.4 million incarcerated people in the United States. Read here. Georgie loses his boat when he crashes into the Public Works wooden horse at 2017. When children begin to disappear in the town of Derry, Maine, a group of young kids are faced with their biggest fears when they square off against an evil clown named Pennywise, whose history of murder and violence dates back for centuries. It, 2017. Check out Leviticus 20:2. Also, Moloch and the planet Saturn. The foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. Matt 8:20. No room for them in the inn. Luke 2:7. The ox knoweth his owner. Isa 1:3. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. Mark 10:9. As undertake? What is a definite undertaking of a confirming bank? Read here. He is the firstborn of the gods Geb, earth, and Nut, sky, shortly after the creation of the world. He was murdered by his younger brother Set, and brought back to life by his sister wife Isis. The murder of Osiris. Does the Word overcome the world, Word and L? John 16:33. The multilingual dissemination of the Word of God has had a long history. Read here. The King James Copyright, a look at the originality of derivative translations of the King James Version of the Bible by Jason L. Cohn, 2005. Also, for an interesting tour of the rabbit hole, search on this phrase, British Israelism and the KJV English Onlyism Mystery Babylon Connection. The Prince of the Power of the Air/Air/Hair/Air? The Treehouse Jack Built, Oblivion, 2013. Our gracious Queen, to keep your Majesty ever mindful of the law and the gospel of God as the rule for the whole life and government of Christian princes, we present you with this book, the most valuable thing that this world affords. Here is wisdom, this is the royal law, these are the lively oracles of God. Read here. Of course, in Oblivion, 2013, Tom Cruise's character is named Jack. Of course, Jack builds a beanstalk. Jack lives in a tree house. He's a repairman tending drones on a largely abandoned Earth. Is he the prince of the power of the Air/Air/Hair/Air? The lands of the crown and the established church were automatically restored, but lands of royalists and other dissenters confiscated and sold during the Civil War and interregnum were left for private negotiation or litigation. Act of Indemnity and Oblivion, here. The Regicide of Charles I of England, here. The score for Oblivion was composed by M83, a superb French electronic outfit. Read this movie review. Also, speaking of Tom Cruise, check out Mission Impossible, Fallout, 2018. You'll recall, Jake Sully's avatar also sleeps in a tree on Pandora in Avatar, 2009. Tree of Jesse, Daniel's statue. Tree of Kabbalah? Abba plus K? In a Levirate marriage, the firstborn son of the widow and the brother of the deceased is considered to be a continuation of the dead husband's line. Read here. The White Widow is Max from the original Mission, Impossible's daughter. Arms dealing, it's a family business. Read here. See, I did join the army, but I joined a different army. I joined the one with the condos and the private rooms. Private Benjamin. Great acting runs in the family for Goldie Hawn and daughter, Kate Hudson. Sent to New Orleans to care for an aging stroke victim who lies bedridden and speechless in a rambling antebellum mansion, 25-year-old hospice worker Caroline, Kate Hudson, discovers a key that unlocks ancient secrets. It's directed by Ian Softly and written by Aaron Kruger, The Skeleton Key, 2005, video. Ah, those weak and beggarly elements. The Lake House, 2006, tells the story of a romance that spans years but involves only a few kisses. It succeeds despite being based on two paradoxes, time travel, and the ability of two people to have conversations that are, under the terms established by the film, impossible. Read more. Workin' on a love letter. Listenin' to a love song, Bonnie Raitt, I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter, and make believe it came from you. Read here. The practice of law in the United States exemplifies modern guilds at work. They often depend on grants of letters patent from a monarch or other authority to enforce the flow of trade to their self-employed members, and to retain ownership of tools and the supply of materials. What is a guild? It is essential that the written grant should be in the form of a public document so other inventors can consult it to avoid infringement and also to understand how to practice the invention, i.e., put it into practical use. Guilds were organized in a manner something between a professional association, a trade union, a cartel, and a secret society. Faex populi, the dregs of the people, the lowest class of society. Also, facies and feces have this in common. What is plural tantum? Digital parcel data, stored in a geographic information system, GIS, is a critical source of information for resource land managers, community development needs, infrastructure maintenance, research, homeland security, business development, public safety, and more. Read here. Also, here. What is proposed insured? It's an individual who is applying for coverage under a life insurance policy. Very early in the process, the Forest Service will need to obtain a preliminary title commitment that shows the United States as the proposed insured, along with a plat and legal description of the private parcel. Read here. How to read a preliminary title report, here. Is United States hyphenated? Hyphenated United States for hyphenated Americans? Are you a hyphenated American? Read here. The The core of identity's value in the United States is that in spite of efforts on the part of some to make it ascribed on the basis of race, gender, economic status, or nationality, identity here remains fundamentally a matter of personal choice. The value of a hyphenated identity, here. It's a hybrid/mingled character, isn't it? A person whose patriotic allegiance is assumed to be divided. Read here. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Matt 12:25. So then because thou art lukewarm, and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. Revelation 3:16. If man were to live in a state of nature, unconnected with other individuals, there would be no occasion for any other laws than the law of nature, and the law of God. Neither could any other law possibly exist, for a law always supposes some superior who is to make it, and, in a state of nature, we are all equal, without any other superior but him who is the author of our being. Commentaries, Laws of England Volume 1, here. By the way, where is the law of nature or natural law found in the King James Ver? Of the Holy Bible? Kicking around on a piece of ground in your hometown, waiting for someone or something to show you the way. Time by Pink Floyd. Phi squared equals phi and 1. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. General 5:2. So, the Adam character comes in two flavors, male or female. H127 Adama equals land. In the beginning, there are two whole characters, a male Adam, which we call a man, and a female Adam, which we also call a man, or mankind. Man occupies space/dirt. So, who, what, or when? Is Eve? Or Lilith? And the darkness still has work to do, the knotted cords untying the heated and the holy. Oh, they're sitting there on high so secure with everything they're buying. Blood of Eden, Peter Gabriel. Famous Freemasons, here. Vitae Otis and other Latin phrases and mottos, here. The 47th problem of Euclid, here. Also, the legend of Hiram Abiff, here. Also, is he/she/it a mere part of a male or female atom, a particular person, maybe the personal property of the male atom or female atom? Read the law of Domsel. Perhaps Eve is male and female, too? For the life is in the blood. In Leviticus 17:11, we notice that nephesh is translated as life and soul. Nephesh sounds like nephew and Nephilim. Where can the soul be found? Is it found in a mere foundling child, a mere puddle of blood, tissue, and DNA left behind on a hospital floor? Are refame found there? Jake's better half? He's only the operator of the avatar. From Latin, semen means seed of plants, animals, or men, race, inborn characteristic, posterity, progeny, offspring, figuratively origin, essence, principle, cause, suffixed form of root *se, which means to sow. Conjugate the verb, saber, in Spanish equals se. Semen equals to sow equals to know. If the first man is created male and female, is the second man, Jesus, also created male and female? Read 1 Corin. 15:45. Is Eve, Adam's better half? Tesla, Rib, H 6763. Perhaps his fractal part? His divine proportion? Phi male? Like Jake's avatar. God's ideal family? Recall Jeff Goldblum's character in The Fly, 1986. Not exactly the ideal family, right? The sign of Jonah/Jonas in the whale? G4592 Semayan is translated sign in Matt 12:39. All of the following words are used to characterize the supernatural works that Jesus performed during his earthly ministry: Semayan, John 2:11, Acts 2:19, Teras, Acts 2:22, John 4:48, Dynamis, Mark 6:2, Acts 2:22, Megalion, Luke 1:49, Endonon, Luke 13:17, Paradoxon, Luke 5:26, and Thaumazion, Matt 21:15. Speaking of biblical character names and Megalion, check out Jason Statham as Jonas Taylor in The Meg, 2018. The film is about a giant shark that emerges from an abyssal trench when two men and a woman stir up its lair. Following hits like The Shallows and 47 Meters Down, the shark movie, 43 years after Steven Spielberg's Jaws, has been showing surprising bite at the box office. Read here. Read the script. It's interesting to me that the dying scientist sends a handwritten letter to his wife by putting it in the pocket of the surviving scientist. Isn't that a holographic will? What are you doing, recording something? Letter to my wife. Just in case. The Meg, 2018. Jonas, later known as Leader, is the main protagonist in The Giver. What does it mean, to know good and evil? To have life? An individual who is a member in good standing of the bar may represent the particular person in whose behalf he acts. U.S. Code Sect 500. What has the word Eve to do with being the mother of all living? Also, a tent, a family, to roll oneself in a circle, Chava H 2332. She's the mother of animals, and perhaps plants. All the living. The Hebrews are lively. Chaya. Eve as a root is found in the words evening, event, every, even, ever. Is Adam symbolic of space/dirt while Eve is symbolic of time/DNA, the life and being? God joins space/time, and creates space/time continuum. Semiotics for beginners, here. Also, check out Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, and Blade Runner 2049. In contrast to Deckard in the first film, a human Blade Runner who suspects that what he thinks are his real memories might actually be implanted, K is a replicant Blade Runner, who begins to suspect that his implanted memories are actually real. Read here. Check out K, Mather's Table. An evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign. What God has joined, space/dirt with time/DNA, let not man put asunder. Osiris, Isis, Horus, do these represent dead characters, legal persons, voodoo dolls of the elite? Do they represent what remains when a living man or living woman dies and goes to seed, so to speak? Like a sunflower? Dirt, minerals, etc. return to the land. A man's dirt and minerals occupy space, but his life no longer occupies time. Do refame come from this disposition? Death is the enemy, 2013. Or is it? Does God Almighty plan for our death so that we will plan to meet Him? When death occurs, the spirit is no longer in time, 2011. Speaking of him, I loved Aronofsky's film, Mother. 2017, here's an excellent interview with production designer, Philip Messina. And in case it's not clear, this movie gets wild. If its gleeful cracking apart of traditional theologies doesn't get you, its bonkers scenes of chaos probably will. Mother is a movie designed to provoke fury, ecstasy, madness, and catharsis, and more than a little awe. Read more, Vox. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Revelation 17:16. Read the French Reformation, here. Read here, also, this video, The Jesuits, A Brief Introduction, WLC. Ex Machina, 2014, DNA Films. The unholy spirit often pursues a plan of its own, like robotic AI hybrid, Ava, in DNA Films' most insightful Ex Machina, 2014. Facilitated by probate and estate law, after disposing of both her creator Nathan, God, and her mentor Caleb, Adam, mystery, the mother of all whores, marches onward. Did you notice, a helicopter picks up Ava in the film? And did I hear you say, he was meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? Delta Dawn, Tanya Tucker. Also, check out Dario Argento's Suspiria, 2018. Who, what, or when, is the woman of Revelation? Read here, video. Is she symbolic of our change over time, our Delta Dawn? The concurrent decay of God's original creation and the rise of our new hope in Christ? To him that overcometh will I give, a white stone, and in the stone a new name written, which no man knoweth saving he that receiveth it. Revelation 2:17. Legislation never confers rights, it merely confirms the natural rights that pre-exist. Read Barnes v. District of Columbia, 91 U.S. 540, 1875. Aren't all we, the people capable of overcoming and redeeming our presumed abandoned, left behind, dirt/bio property? He that standeth steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but hath power over his own will, and hath so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, doth well. 1 Cor 7:37. Even better, aren't we all capable of recognizing ourselves as white rabbit property owners? If not, wouldn't that, pretty much, be discriminatory? The unconstitutionality of slavery, read here. Whitestone aka Cone, Revelation 2:17, IRS, Maryland. Legislative jurisdiction is the authority to make and enforce laws. A transfer of the state's legislative jurisdiction to the United States is a cession, and the return of that legislative jurisdiction to the state is a retrocession. The Commission can assist the public in determining the degree of state and federal legislative jurisdiction over a specific federal parcel, but it cannot provide advice on the legal implications of that status. Read here. The Constitution gives Congress the power to grant authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries. Read more. Prometheus, or perhaps the autopsy of Jane Doe. Lucienne, in an endeavor to pay Coralie's funeral expenses, writing body love songs when her body is hardly yet cold, and the Deus Ex Machina, in the form of Herrera's appearance at the end of the novel. Read here, here. The people are the recognized source of all authority, state and municipal, and to this authority it must come at last, whether immediately or by a circuitous process. The primogeniture laws were repealed at the time of the American Revolution. Thomas Jefferson took the lead in repealing the law in Virginia, where nearly 3/4 of Tidewater land and perhaps a majority of Western lands were entailed. FDR said he couldn't understand the British aristocracy's concept of primogeniture, and he intended to divide his estate equally between his 5 children. Read more, primogeniture. Doesn't a star have 5 points? Pent? Repent? 5? Hey, I've got 5 kids to feed. Benny, Total Recall, 1990, yes, but, where are the condos and the private rooms? A minor plat is a subdivision of property meeting the following requirements. The subdivision of the property must not create more than 5 lots, tracts, or parcels. Guide to subdividing property, here. Heirs may be given in marriage, but not to someone of lower social standing. Before marriage takes place, it shall be made known to the heirs next of kin. Read more. Today, freedom from forced marriage is recognized by the United Nations as a fundamental human right, with Magna Carta marking the beginning of 800 years of legislation upholding the rights of women. Read here. Edge of Tomorrow, 2014. Live, die, repeat. No sir, I'm from Kentucky. Rip Bill Paxton. Do we not use application of skill every day to improve our own selves? Soil plus P equals spoil. As state citizens, don't all we, the people, have the same right as George Washington to retrocede our virginal land, the dirt/soil from which our sperm and egg physical bodies are created? Is it not the very land of our soul? Is it not our private property? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost which is in you? 1 Cor 6:15-20. Are we not spoliated owners? This article is continued. Here's main, Part 1a, Part 1b, Part 2, Part 3. Share this. More. Like this. Activism #CHUF 2019. Submit now. #CHUF 2019. Sci-fi #CISF 2018. Submit now. #CISF 2019. Cannabis #SICF 2019. Submit now. #SICF 2019. About M4F. The First Amendment right to free association contains a corollary right to be free from unwanted association. We're a private, not-for-profit effort to engage creative research and ideas dedicated to developing evidence-based insights that improve people's lives and strengthen communities. Through analysis of complex social, political and economic issues, our work inspires and enhances the well-being of we, the people. Recent posts. Birthday of the Sun, the Pagan Origins of Christmas. What is a born-alive certificate person? Intro. Remedy Drive's 2014 album cover anticipates alleged ISS damage. Disclaimer. This is private expression of personal perspective and is neither public disclosure nor a public offering. The material set forth herewith is for educational and/or entertainment purposes only. Nothing stated herein is intended as constituting legal advice and is not provided with any warranties, express or implied. The content set forth herein constitute the opinions and understanding of the author. Accountability for the actions of anyone who reads and utilizes any material set forth herein, in part or in whole, resides entirely with the user and is neither the action nor the responsibility of the author. Get the newsletter. Email address. Copyright 2019 Musicians for Freedom. Powered by WordPress theme, Alpha Centauri by Michael van den Berg. Top.